Good morning. We are back again with our At Connect Business Talks, and today's topic is all about sales through indirect channels and how do we establish our distribution channels, because that is probably the most vast process of doing how to actually distribute your products, whether you are into manufacturing or you are into trading, how you actually distribute your inventory to the different segments of the market and then help the commodities to move to the end customer's place. So myself, Kaushik Chandra, CEO at Connect Defining Businesses, had spent a considerable amount of my time of my career in distribution models with various companies, and thankfully I have gathered quite a good amount of information, knowledge, as well as experience in dealing that, which I wanted to share with you today, because this is nothing theoretical. It is a very, very practical points to move around with this. So here I go, because there are so many organizations which are into distributions. Rather, I will say every organization has got somehow different type of distribution models by which they try to reach the end customers. So if I define a distribution model is basically it, if I take the chain, because I'm in an on live video, so I will not be able to show you the description over an illustration on that, but I will definitely share a proper illustrations through my Facebook page on this. But coming back to the same discussions about what is the distribution? The distribution is actually pushing your materials through some defined channel, which probably are more committed to you to push your product, and thus helping customers to get at their own places at their own convenience. Now, when this distribution channel happens all throughout my career from as back as 1994 to 2010, I've seen that the distribution model sometimes becomes very, very monotonous. Why I'm using the word monotonous is that because when you do the same thing every time, you get the same result. And if you get the same result, you will never grow. And hence, in many of the cases we see, if the distribution model runs in the same format, in the same pattern, with the same number of entities, the growth is very limited, or it becomes a part of a boredom syndrome. Okay, so now there are different type of distributions today evolved out as the days goes along. When we started our career, we thought that it was only through an indirect channel. That means that the master distributor, that means who are actually become the distributor of a state, of a country, and then they push it down to the local CNF agents. The CNF agents in turn push it down to the the higher level of distribution models out there who are known as distributors of the company, but they actually get built from the CNF agent or maybe from the company, products moving out from the CNF agent. Then the dealers then supply this material to the local dealers or the retailers available. And the dealers and the retailers, using some certain schemes given by those companies, the principal companies, push it down to the customer. That is the end user. Now, this is a perfect flow chain. During this perfect flow chain, the cash flow also should remain perfect, because the customer who is buying it from the dealer, the customer who is buying it from the retailer, they buy it at actuals. That means they pay in advance and give it so. But when this particular distribution becomes a funding agency, it becomes a problem. And unfortunately, today's distribution model has become a funding agencies for the different distributors. That's what I go through. So this is a mode of distribution that is the indirect mode of distributions using intermediaries like distributors, wholesalers, and retailers to ensure wider reach and faster market penetrations is very easy. Now, to have this movement keep on moving on at a constant speed, at a regular speed, with a growth rate as defined by the company, it needs a lot of activities to push this. The activities may not happen at the distributors level, but these activities should happen at the dealers or the retailers level, which actually brings the customers, which actually helps the customers to buy their product. Because selling is nothing but helping the buyer to buy the product or the services. Now, when we miss out on this particular activity, this type of promotional activities at the dealer's end, there is a chance of overcommitments, of over bundling of materials inside an organization, which may happen into a disruption of the proper cash flow. So commonly we talk about the words called sell in and sell out. What is sell in for a wholesaler is a sell out for the company, for the CNF. What is sell in for the distributor is actually sell out for the principal company. What is sell in for a dealer is actually a sell out from the distributor to the wholesalers. That's how it moves on. So it's a proper combination of sell in and sell out. If the sell out does not happen, the problem actually surfaces out. So the main activity at the lower level of the distribution model is very, very important. Because the more the customers will buy, the more the dealer will be available for more stocks. So it's unfortunately, if it becomes a month-end game, that means when we go to the distributor at one point of time at the end of the month to take care of our targets, it actually creates a different type of feeling. And probably we all go across the words called undercutting and market slowdown and all those things, because market slowdown is nothing but a result of low pickup by the customers or the buyers. So if we are not able to create that demand, or we are not able to help the buyers to buy the material, then this entire flow becomes very, very difficult. Hence, today we see there are certain organizations like Apple or any other organizations we see, they sell through a direct retailers. Like Apple is sold from their retailers to the direct customers. So what happens? Why they do it? They are, when they're selling direct to the customers, what they gain out of it? They actually gain control. They actually are able to give a better margin to those people or a better prices to the end customers. So this is known as direct distributions, which normally happens through a website, through a retail store, or by direct sales team. Now, selling through the website has become a regular practice today by the different principal companies. It is nothing wrong. It's actually right. They are bringing the traffic down to the website, and that is the most, a valuable asset what a company have, that knowing the brand, having a belief on the brand, the customers are directly flocking inside the website of the customer, website of the main company or the principal company, and starts buying from them. There are certain processes, there are certain companies who maintain the end user price strictly, but there are also certain companies which keeps it fluctuating. So this becomes a complete volatile market situations. When market goes wrong, or when the market goes slow because of the low pickup by the customers, different type of deviations keeps on happening, which disturbs the mindset of the distributors, which creates a little bit of mental dissatisfactions, agony within the channel setup. and it becomes difficult, thus resulting in undercutting, getting release of the material, a wrong selling, a wrong pickup, everything goes haywire. So we have to be very careful when we set up a distribution model. We need to understand why a distribution model is being created. What are the responsibilities of the principal company like you, and what are the responsibilities you are expecting from the distributors, from the retailers, and how do you reach the end customers and at what level. So these are basically two major outlines of the distribution, the direct and the indirect. Now there is something called in between, the hybrid distribution, which has grown in recent times. So what happens in, which is known as a dual distribution, right? Combining both indirect and direct. There are certain companies who have got a indirect channel also, and as well as they have got their old team, they have their own sales team selling their products. I know certain companies who are selling their products directly to customers by promotions, by giving advertisements, by going there. Please don't forget about the company called Eureka Forbes, who started his career in this market by direct selling. So I, being a part of it, had a very good experience in doing that, going from home to home, demonstrating products, and we had a great success that time. But later on, that Eureka, same Eureka Force moved into retail channel, who moved into distribution, but that direct channel also is retained. There are certain companies, if I put the name, there are certain cosmetic companies, there are certain dress companies. There are a lot of companies who are maintaining both the channels together, if not more. So what happens? What is the advantages of this? The advantages of this is that they are flexible, either in this way or in that way, and hence the business looks out scalable. But beware of channel conflicts, beware of internal conflicts. So to avoid this, many company has renamed the same product for different channels, for the direct and the indirect channels. Next, the most prevalent and the most active platform today is the e-commerce platform. Everything, everywhere is available today. Everything and everywhere is available today. Selling through online marketplaces like Amazon, Flipkart, Shopify. So what happens? It gives you an access to a very large customer base. So what happens? You are reaching your product, bypassing the intermediaries and reaching to the direct customer. What it helps you to make more margins at a certain point of time, and also helps the customers to buy at a more discounted price. I will not say reasonable price, but a discounted price. And when they come into the after sales service, there are a lot of cautions taken about it. There are a lot of confusions which has to be taken care of it. When during the few years back, the first e-commerce platform came into the market, there were a lot of programs by the companies not to support the sales, not to allow the after sales service to those products which are being sold by the online practices. By my dear friend, those products are your products only. You cannot actually declare that your products are being sold illegally into the online market. There were a lot of unrest in the distribution channel, the countrywide, to avoid this. But that time also I said, and today also I said, you cannot avoid online marketplaces. Rather, you can develop your own website and divert your clients, your customers to your website, which today the principal company is doing it. 2020, the entry of Corona into our lives has given us another opportunity, creating license partners, creating franchises. allowing other entities to using your brand and logo under an agreement format. So what happens if you want to open up a shop, you want to take a franchisee? In fact, yesterday I was having misal pav at one of the franchisees. Okay, so it's not a very costly affair. It's not a very negative affair. It's a very good product lineup. It is a very good concept of franchising your logo, your brand to a third party in the C class, B class cities, and then increase your sales. Now, what happens to this rapid expansion? Your cash flow increases, but only one thing what you have to take care of it when you are into food chain, when you are into electronic items, you have to be very serious about it, and we have to be strictly controlling the quality control of the products or the services that is being displayed by your franchisee out in that outlet. Because if anything goes wrong out there, it will disturb your ecosystem. But today, franchising and licensing has become one of the most prominent way of retail distributing, directly reaching the customers. The customers get a feel about it. Today, you talk about a saloon, they have been franchised. We're talking about a dress material organization, they have also been franchised. Food chains, of course, are franchised in a big way. Today, we talk about Apple selling their Apple iPhones and the iPads are being franchised through Unistore and through other stores. There are hometowns which are being franchised to different outlets. So franchising business is today a process which really requires attention. Let me take up another item called broker-based, agent-based distribution. Now, how it happens? These are normally areas where an agent or a broker actually takes your product to the end customer. When they take your product to the end customer, you are actually cutting down all the intermediaries, and you are not expecting the customer to go back to come onto the market and search for you. There are people who are taking your products and services to the end customer and thus making a margin of that. This is a very cost-effective entry into the markets. It goes from you to the agent and directly to the end user. A lot of packaging industries are into this product. Okay, there are a lot of projects which are happening by this. Sometimes they are known as agents, sometimes they're known as brokers, sometimes they're known as what will I say? They are different people, and there are different people. They are actually, you find them into the housing businesses where you get architects who are actually helping your product to be placed inside his customer's place, and then you are directly reaching to the customer's place through a very promised channel that is your architect. So they actually help you to reach to the end user's place. So it's a very cost-effective entry. Yes, you share some of your profits with the architects because nothing comes free in life. But how much your brand is being represented has to be looked into it. That's under your purview, your control. A very different type of distribution model which has just arrived in the market, which is the subscription-based models, offering recurring deliveries or services through SaaS. It's like FMCGs and etc. So now when you do this, it gives you a very predictable revenue. You know that this particular area will, if they have subscribed to your website, to your product lineup and all those things, they can keep on buying. Let's not forget about a very important channel in the market, which was at one point of time thriving in this country, was the direct to home channel. In the direct to home channel, there was a recurring purchase of material from the channel by the end users. I will not get into the commercials because a lot of organizations who started by Amway and then followed by Oriflame and then followed by different cosmetic agencies or different utensil agencies have done this. These are called subscription based models who were reaching to the end users, and the end users were continuously buying through their subscription. So these are primarily certain broad lines of the distribution, and how many types of distributions, it all depends how you actually want to adapt and what you want to adapt and when you want to adapt. That's very important. It all depends upon the product. It all depends upon your plan. It all depends upon the place where you are actually building your business. When we go back to the 3 P's of a business, the first P stands for people. You need to have people. You need to have a product, and you need to have the place. If all these 3 P's are supporting your product, your services, then you don't have to look back. But if there is any falter, then you definitely have to relook into the 3 P's and then finding out, because your destination is the people. Whom are you selling to? That is the people outside your organization waiting for it. The channel who is helping you to get through it. The products, what are the products you're dealing through it? How much margins you are settling it down, and places how and where you are actually reaching. The entire part of distribution is a finance game primarily. How you divide your margin, your giveaway margin actually. That is the margin which you can give away to the market to promote your product. So how you actually place those margins into the different sectors, into different platforms, gives the success to actually the sale of your product. For example, a product price is say 100 rupees. I keep your margin as 25 rupees. Hence, your giveaway margin is around 75 rupees. Now, how you place this 75 rupees between your CNF, between your distributors, between your wholesalers, between your dealers, and how much you're going to give it out to the customers, and also how much you are going to reinvest in the product by in terms of promotional activities are the key areas through which your product or your services move. Hence, to improve this distribution model is basically depending upon few points. Let me take one by one in a very short manner, because this is live and all of you are traveling. You might be listening to it. If it is interesting to you, you might be listening to it later. But I can tell you, these are the words of experiences. Okay, starting from selling, FMCG product to the office automation product to the audio products, all products come under a part of reselling, which is also a mixture of reuniting with the customers directly. So coming back to how to improve the distribution model, the first point which comes to my mind is actually understanding your market and your customers. Every product, rather all product, does not move into all domains. In certain areas, a tin product moves. In certain areas, a raw product moves. So you have to analyze that, understand that market and your customers. The second is optimizing the supply chain. Now, what do I mean by optimizing the supply chain? Is streamlining logistics to reduce costs and to improve delivery times. Watch out Amazon, what they do. How are they promoting customers? How are they putting the products in the customer's face? That is also a distribution, a direct distribution from Amazon marketplace directly to the customer. Something to learn from them. So optimizing supply chain, optimizing time factors, optimizing delivery schedules, optimizing quality controls are all important. The third important thing is optimizing supply chain. Now, what it is, optimizing supply chain is improving delivery times, sustaining the delivery schedules, talking to having a good rapport with the reliable suppliers and to the logistic companies. These are all things. More often, you will see a same process when they're repeated continuously in the same way, sometimes becomes questionable, sometimes becomes redundant to the current situation. So you need to diversify your distribution channels. Combination of physical as well as digital channel. Of course, today digital channel is one of the most important sector. You cannot avoid it. So combination of physical and digital channels such as retail stores, e-commerce platforms, as well as mobile apps play a big role today. Today we can buy anything on the go, whether it is Amazon, whether it is Mimiso, whether it is Flipkart, whether it is anything, any dress material, you can just buy on the go, which was a dream at one point of time. While we go through these primitive methods of moving materials from one place to another and reaching out to the customers, my dear friends, entrepreneurs, and distributors who are with me in this call, please leverage technologies. It is time that you have to update yourself in this market to be with the requirement of the conditions. The traditional way of living has gone. The competition is not between you and another distributor. The competition is between you yourself. How you are improving yourself from yesterday is a bigger competition. Use AI, machine learning to predict demand so that whatever you buy from your parent company to fulfill your target, you buy it knowingly what actually moves in your market. Or otherwise, it can be a blind purchase, it can be a blind death at any point of time. Implementing tracking systems to provide a real-time updates to the customer. This is very important. Today, when you go to any of those channels, any of those e-commerce channels, you exactly know where it is. They keep on updating you. Today, you talk about Blue Dot, you know the person has left from, for example, Delhi and reaching to Mumbai. You know where it is, in which warehouse where it is, and what is the time they're expecting to give it. So this leveraging, this process, this idea of leveraging technology actually creates more passionate customers towards your services, towards the product yourselves. Most important part, which I think today, is sustainability. It is very easy to start something and it is very easy to run away from something. But it's a real difficult process to sustain at something and the process. So explore eco-friendly packaging, staying there, optimizing routes, adopting energy efficient process of doing it, vehicles to reduce environmental impact. So these are all sustainable processes which is growing at a very fast rate in this country, and be a part of it. Evaluate and adapt. There are so many processes which will come into your way and which have already come across way. Not everything that you can adapt. So you have to evaluate and adapt which is good for you. So this is all about distribution. And when you talk about distribution, this is one of the most efficient way of reaching your product and your services to your end user. Thank you so much for being with me today on this a very, very interesting topic, which I was a part of this particular topic for a very long time in your life. So I have experienced it, and thus I was able to share to you. And we see you again in some part of the week, this week or in the next week again. And then wishing you all the best for the rest part of the week. 1 month of this new financial year is just moving away. Tighten your process, rectify wherever it is required, because you will never get another time to rectify if the first quarter goes. So we are just closing on the first month of the first quarter and wish you a dashing success for that. Thank you so much.